Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 9.2.6. How can I find the lengths in three dimensions? So today we're going to be working on the Pythagorean theorem, and you'll notice today's video is a little bit different because we have materials that we've got to be working with. So let's start by reading the problem. The roof on the Flat family's house is one large flat rectangle. You're going to need one large flat rectangle today. It is parallel to the ground. The TV antenna is mounted to the center. You're going to need an antenna for today. Guy wires attached to the antenna 5 feet below the highest point, and they are attached to the roof at each corner and at the midpoint of each end. So today you are going to need a guy wire. Now, my guy wire is roughly 8 feet long, okay? There are 8 guy wires, which means you are going to have 8 1-foot sections, but I've got a little trick, so don't just start cutting, okay? These wires are attached to support the antenna in the wind. Now, this is the old school way that we used to get TV. Most people have a dish now, but some people still use antenna for digital signal. And what we are going to do and discover is that each guy wire is the hypotenuse of a right triangle. Mr. Flat needs to know how long each wire needs to be to keep the antenna upright. He also needs to find the total amount of wire needed. Now, I'm going to also read the problem 9-136 right now because these two problems go hand in hand and we're going to be doing them simultaneously. The Flat family's roof is 60 feet long, 32 feet wide. The TV antenna is 30 feet tall. Remember, 30 feet tall, but it's attached 5 feet below. So what we're going to do is we are going to collect materials. Now, the first step is making sure that you have scissors, cardboard, tape, 3 pieces of color. 3 pieces of colored paper. You are going to need 2 sheets of one color and then 1 of the other. The one that you pick 2 of is going to be the diagonal triangles, and 1 is the width, 1 is the length. You're going to need a straw, paper clip, ruler, and string. So what we are going to do is we are going to step through each of these steps. Okay, I'm going to give you some helpful hints. As I give you these hints, please make sure that you pause the video and use those instructions. So, step number 1. Build a model of the Flat family roof. The model will serve as a reference while your team finds lengths of these sides of the right triangle in 3 dimensions. For the roof, use a rectangular piece of cardboard. Draw the diagonals of the rectangle to locate the center. So you'll notice I have a rectangle and I used a ruler to draw the diagonals. Okay? Please notice that I also drew the midpoints. I used the ruler and I measured. This is 10 1/4, 10 1/8. So this center should be right around 5, 5 1/8, making sure that our center is lined up. I did that same thing for the length. The length is 14 1/4, which means that my center is at 7 1/8. Pause the video to draw the diagonals, please. All right, step number 2. Tape the string of the wires to the antenna. Do not forget to leave a gap that represents the 5 feet between the strings and the top of the antenna. Now, here is my hint for the string, okay? You want to have 4 pieces of string, okay? So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I double it up. Notice I've doubled it. And then I'm going to double it one more time. So now I can see 4, okay? And the last thing I'm going to do is double it a third time so that I have 8 matching strings dangling. Now notice that I've kept this one up top. I've got 3 loops at the bottom and I have 2 of the ends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut these loops down at the bottom so that I have 8 dangling strings. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab tape. I have masking tape. You can also use Scotch tape. And I am going to take this and I am going to loop it through. Notice that these strings are still pretty even at the bottom. I've looped it through the tape so that when I attach it to my straw, notice I'm not at the top. I can wrap around once and notice that it's dangling here, and I can wrap all the way around. Oh, I'm gonna bring this to the other side. That's what I wanna do. Notice I've got 4 dangling on the left. I've got 4 dangling on the right. And then I wrap it around. That's gonna help keep things equal on my straw. Now, let's look at step number 3. Attach the antenna to the center of the roof. Use tape, tie knots, or make slits to anchor your antenna and guide wires to the roof. So we have this ready, okay? And we have our roof ready. The first thing that I want you to do is take a sharp pencil. You know exactly where the center is. A sharp pencil is good for poking the hole. Please do not poke a hole in your finger. That's going to hurt really bad. So you can use the edge of your desk as one side and poke a hole through the center of your cardboard. The sharper the pencil, the easier this works. Okay, notice I poked the hole through the center of my board with my pencil. Okay, now I'm going to keep the tall side of my rooftop up, and I'm going to place this through. Now, a trick that I have learned through these years is I'm going to put this through. I'm going to hold it bottom up. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut 4 slits about 1 inch long in my straw. Each at like a quarter, so that when I bring this back down, I can take a piece of tape and I can fold each. Yeah, let's go ahead and see if I can do this on camera. Maybe not on camera, Mr. McCoy. There we go. There's one. Okay, and I'm going to keep going around and folding this. Go ahead and cut yours, and then begin to tape it on the bottom side. Oh yeah, we're getting there. You can see how I'm kind of laying it flat and taping it down. Yeah. Pause the video if you need more time. Okay, now you'll notice that my antenna it's close to upright. It's not perfectly 90 degrees. Okay, I've got 4 wires on each side of this. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut tiny little slits in the corners and the midpoints, just a tiny, tiny little bit. While I'm cutting this, you could also be cutting yours.
Oh, I thought you had a class. I heard you talking.
I am currently recording YouTube.
Oh, right now.
Yeah, it's okay.
I was gonna leave something with you.
Okay.
It's something I thought you'd like to watch on YouTube.
No worries. All right. So we have our 4 guy wires at 4 corners, and we have our 4 midpoints. Now, while we have these, we are going to take and separate these strings so that we can put a guy wire at each corner. So I'm going to take a guy wire, and you'll notice in the tiny little cut in the cardboard, I'm going to try and unbraid these a little bit. I can go ahead and send one to each corner. Now I'm going to take that string and I'm going to place it in the corner. Notice this is giving us our 3 dimensions. You want to do your best to untangle your string before you attach it to your corners. Notice I'm placing my strings, getting them organized before I use any tape. Because as you pull, notice that my antenna is starting to go a little bit crooked. Notice that I'm kind of going around so that as I do this, I can get all the strings untangled. There we go. Now you'll notice I have my guy wires. Now, as you get this straightened out, you can tug on one side and loosen the other. And then on the back side, you've got the leftover string that you're going to use tape, and you're going to tape it down so that it stays nice and secure. Okay? Now, for the math side of this, we need to go ahead and think about how long is each of these sides. You're going to use problem 9-36. And you're going to start by figuring out all of the 2-dimensional lengths. Now, it might be a good idea to write it on the board. You notice you have room in your notebook to go ahead and record it there. You want all of your dimensions on every single edge of this diagram, okay? And what we are going to do is we are going to take these multiple colors. The single color you need to choose for your width. And notice as you place it like this, you are going to be able to mark the height and the width with a pencil and then cut that triangle out. And you are going to make sure that it matches. Okay, you're going to do that for one side and the other side. Do not tape it on until you know all of the lengths. Because as you place this here, you know this bottom length because it's written on your piece of cardboard. You also know the height. If the antenna is 30 feet tall and it is attached 5 feet below the top, you know the height. Now in this width triangle, you can use the medium, you can use the small in order to find the large. You have to record that on both of your width triangles. Once you have found the width and you have written all the numbers on your triangle, you tape it to your diagram on the string. Once you have the width, you are going to get your second single sheet. I chose orange. You're going to place it on your diagram. You're going to mark where to cut. Then you are going to use your scissors, cut your triangle, and you are going to be ready to place it there. You know the medium along the edge. You know the small, that is the height. And on your length triangles, use the small and the medium to find the large. Third step, you have 2 of these double papers. I think you could get away with using 1 sheet if you place your papers like this. You're going to use 2 sheets if you place it like this on the diagonal. So if you place it this way, you'll save on paper. And as you place it and mark it, you're going to cut 4 of these triangles. They should all match. So if you make one, you'll be able to duplicate it into 4 equal sheets. And as you take this diagonal and you place it on your diagram. You know the small from the height of the antenna. You know the medium along the diagonal of this. You had to find that, by the way, using the Pythagorean theorem. And then you are able to find the diagonal of these guide wires. You have to have 8 colored triangles taped on your diagram in order for you to finish this project. Pause the video in order to get all of your papers onto your diagram. Okay, last step. So on your diagram, you have 8 colored papers, each with a measure of, on the diagonal, how much each is. 8 numbers, okay? The final question is, how much wire does the flat family need to support the triangle, or support the antenna? And you have to take those 8 numbers of the 8 diagonals, add them together in order to get the total length of wire needed for the flat family, okay? Now this problem is pretty extensive. Hopefully you've been able to follow along and get this diagram built. Please make sure that your name is written on the bottom of your diagram, and thanks for coming for today.